I'm from JHP. We design for retail, we design for the landlords who build the centres, we design for the retailers, and we design for the people that make the stuff that people buy. And in answer to your question, where does our love of it come from? Well, it's everything, really. I mean, what is there around the floor I'm standing on, this jacket I'm wearing, the TV I'm looking at? It can all be bought and sold. So retail encompasses everything in life. So I think that's really what continues to excite me all these years I've been doing it, about retail. I was asked to talk today about what retailers are doing in terms of formatting their retail categories in this modern age. And then to describe how some of that formatting has influenced the way in which we have designed the new ADG centres. I thought I'd first have a quick conversation about what formatting is, and there's a great list of stuff under the definition of formatting. But the key part, it says, is an ability to morph, to adapt to changing circumstances, needs and demands. Well, that's fine, but in response to what, I ask myself, and you've heard a lot about this today, so I'm only going to touch on it briefly because it's the physical world that we look at. It's in response to this. Now, the good retailers are the ones who format and look at this as a friend, not an enemy. It's about how this and everything to do with it can enter their retail world, help them sell their product, engage more with their customers. But firstly, I'm going to stick with spaces. So I'm going to go through some of the typical categories and see what little format tricks they're playing. Department stores. Lots of department stores have had trouble in recent years. Why go to them when you can shop online? Some have taken the approach of having distinct personalities of their own. So take this. This is Selfridges. It calls itself the Ultimate Day Club. This is in London. When they cleaned the building, they put this hoarding up. It's got photographs of great heroes from around London, celebrity chefs, Elton John, you name it, because it tells its customers, you go to Selfridges, you'll see these people inside. You'll see them performing in the atrium, you'll see them being made up in the cosmetics hall, and you'll see them having clandestine affairs in the bars and restaurants. People dress up on a Saturday to go to Selfridges. It's like going to the club. So that's one sort of format approach. What about food? Well, why not buy online all the time, have the food delivered to your home? Well, there are all sorts of tricks food retailers are playing. A lot of people, like this one here, it's up in the Alps in Austria, is a forced flow hypermarket. It's like IKEA. You've got to pass every schnitzel before you can get out of the building. If you look inside, you have a fantastic bakery where you can go and have lessons on how to make viennoiserie. You have a fabulous vitamin bar where you can go and have juices made that go exactly with whatever allergies you have and whatever needs and wants and desires you've got. You can go here and buy produce from the aisles, take it to the chef in store, and he'll cook it into a specific meal that you might want to take home with you. Staying with food, if you look out in Asia, this place is like Aldi. Limited range, focused, tight prices, right down to as economic as it can possibly be. But next door to it, and part of the same company, is a fantastic gourmet section of deli counters. The logic being that why spend more money on the basics that you need to, but when you want to go and buy something absolutely fabulous as a special treat for yourself, why not get the best you possibly can? Top and bottom, right next door to each other in the same space. Category killers, what are they doing? You know, the big shed outside town that sells televisions, washing machines, whatever it might be, maybe sporting goods. Some of them have taken the reverse approach. Instead of some vast place out in the middle of nowhere, they've gone into the middle of town. This is a huge fishing shop, believe it or not. You know that's a passion of mine, Guillaume, but anyway. It's a huge fishing store. It's in Pall Mall. That's right in the centre of London. It sells every type of fishing kit you can imagine. It looks as itself as the home of fly fishing. People come from all over the world to visit this place because it's turned itself into an institution. It treats its products like they're in vast cathedrals. It puts all its reels and its lures in showcases like jewelry stores. It's fabulous. And in fact, there's one in St. Petersburg. It's called Farlow's. So category killers. What about niche retailers? You know, the sort of focused little groups of product. Take someone like Accessorize. They celebrate the density of what they sell. They have incredibly tight ranges of product. You can hardly get into the store. And what they've moved into doing is saying, you know, here's the celebrity of the moment. Come and look at what she's wearing and make up your own collection. You can even make up your own costume jewelry. You can even decorate your own bag in their stores. Lipsy is a London brand that just makes party dresses. It copies the catwalk and knocks them out. And you can come to Lipsy and get your party dress bespokely made just for you. And you can do it in the store. You can actually change the way the product's cut and made and what it's decorated with. Myla is a very high-end lingerie store in London. It started to sell champagne and oysters inside the lingerie store. Now, if that's not an experience, I don't know what is. Travel retail is a world we work in a lot. That's retail we put into airports. Now, you've got to remember, in the travel retail world, people aren't there to go shopping. They're there to get in an aeroplane or a ship or whatever transport they're going for. So they're forced to make everything as dramatic as possible. So this is in Brazil, and this is one of the finest sunglasses. And they buy more sunglasses in Brazil than any other country in the world. Sunglasses and watches departments you'll ever come across. Brands love launching in airports. AB1 International Consumers through big city airports is where you can really test your product. This is one we designed for Ciroc, the vodka brand. And we went even further. Here at Terminal 5, talk about having an experience, we built a cocktail bar in the middle of the drink section. You sit there, you have a drink. Where are you going, sir? I'm going to Cuba. He makes you a Cuba Libre, and you go and buy the rum that's on the shelf next door to it. Proper cross-selling, a complete experience. Food and beverage, the heart, really, of so many good commercial operations, and probably the fastest growing sector of all, casual dining. High quality, affordable food. It was about 2 years ago that in the United States, the average American family spent more money eating out than it did on groceries to cook at home. And that's in part because good quality eating out has grown. The brand ranges have gone up and up and up. So if you look at a couple, this, believe it or not, is a bakery chain that's in Korea, in China. There are 2,500 of these. It starts trading at 6 o'clock in the morning, selling fantastic, really fantastic cakes, pastries, very efficient place. But it goes through till 2 o'clock in the morning because it turns into a wine bar through the day. So F&B guys realize they really need to sweat their space, make it work continuously for them. This is a chicken restaurant. It only sells chicken. And I mean only sells chicken. It sells fried chicken, it sells tandoori chicken, it sells chicken satay, it sells, you think of any type of chicken you can think of, that's all it sells. The managing director of this place told me the chicken is a great bird because it's gone all over the world and it can't even fly, which is an interesting observation. But they have their own farms. They're vertically integrated. Their chicken is free range, organic, but very affordable because they're very focused on what they do. This place is called the Burger Lab. You go here and you construct your own burger. You cook it to whatever duration you want. You wrap it, put in whatever sort of lettuce, tomatoes, sauces you feel on these great laboratory tables. So it's all about interaction, a real experience. And this word experience again and again and again. An experience isn't a fancy roof. An experience isn't a spiral staircase. It's an experience is something you get to take part in yourself, which is what's so exciting about hearing about something like Octilab. You're there, the co-working spaces and so on. Shopping centres, let's get to the big thing. Breaking down the thresholds. We work a lot in Asia, and one of the big experiences we've had in Asia, one of the big learnings we've had is of places like this. It's a big shopping centre. You recognise the names of the Hyundais in Hyundai who make the cars. Over there they do a lot of retail. But what they have, it looks like a conventional shopping centre. Here's a big atrium, and you can see some of the stores around the perimeter. But the big difference is there are no doors. These are just containments. These are areas that anybody can walk through. So we open everything up. So if you look at this footwear brand here, there are no shutters, no entrances to go through. You can move freely through anything. All spaces are rented. Everything is a tenant. This isn't a department store that buys and sells product. Every space is let out to retailers But the landlord takes responsibility for security at the front door. It makes the space considerably more flexible, more open, and easier for customers to travel through. You have counters like these that are operated out in open space. Fantastic food halls, but perhaps most interestingly, when you go to the top of the building, you have the community centre, huge auditoria. This is a vast one. You have little auditoria where you can go in and control the movie you're watching yourself. You can stop the film while you go and get a hot dog and then start it again if you've booked the space. They have doctors, they have dentists, they have education rooms, they have places where you can have poetry readings. They have incredible rooftop gardens like this here. These are very big spaces, but what's very interesting about them is they're a great model for doing the same thing in smaller spaces and also on difficult plots of land. In the West, people don't like to travel over too many floors, but if everything's open, people are much more inclined to shop vertically. And then finally, before I move on to talk about ADG, technology, digital services and total connectivity. We work for O2, and when we first started to design their stores for them, it was very simple. It was all about selling airtime for phones. Then we worked with them in a little bit more detail. We began to realize that people, their staff were very good, and people were coming and having their problems solved, having their computers fixed, having their phones fixed. We turned this into a feature. People who were with other networks would come in and have their phones fixed or problems solved by the guru in store. And O2 began to realize that they were selling digital service as well as their airtime, and began to sell digital services in terms of content, film, music, sort of advice, and even into gaming. So much so, they thought, well, if we're selling this content that we're making, why don't we make a feature out of the place where we actually created? And this is the O2. They branded this, what is Europe's largest sort of concert hall. Used to be the Millennium Dome in London. And in here, all the content that's created, you can download, you can buy stuff in there that you've pre-ordered on your phone. They are going way beyond their original constraints, not just selling the services, but connecting everybody that buys into their brand. So what are our learnings? Here are key learnings from just a few formats. There are many more I could go through. Treat your customers as members. Make the journeys through places sort of intuitive and interactive. Maybe become something of an institution, entertain and engage, flex, focus and sweat, that's in the food and beverage world, break down the barriers, connect within and beyond. All of this has been useful to us when we've been working on the 39 sites for ADG, because we've looked at the retail categories that are being sold in, that are going to be present in the 39 sites, and how they can be formatted, and the activities that will go through those formats that are directly relevant to the community. When the community come to the stores, it's not just about going to a place which is a community place to meet. It's about any retail experience being something they can interact with and do something with. It's where they will meet people. If we turn this into a journey, you'll see this is a typical example. This is for Kikitsya, you have mentioned earlier today. This is over 5 levels. It's leisure at the top as one anchor, and the sort of, the sustainability and the basic things of life at the lower ground floor. We've got the food and the services, and people have various journeys through the entirety of this, and this is what it looks like. You heard earlier on about the great atrium entrance where people meet. It's a focal point for the community to start their journey through the experience of a typical ADG site. When you go inside, you get to see through the floors. It's all about transparency. Things aren't hidden away here. Openness everywhere. You can see down into the lower ground floor, you can see up to the ground floor and up to the first and second and so on. If you very quickly then see how these principles are applied, here we are on the lower ground floor, you have the supermarket in the distance, here you have the open deli counters, and around the perimeter you have the services, the travel agents, the pharmacies and so on. Up to the ground floor, you've got wonderful cafes. In the middle is where you'll have your costume jewelry you can make, your beauty areas where you can be made over. Go up another floor, here's the sports area in the back. Maybe we'll have some yoga classes, might even have some fly casting lessons, probably not that, but we'll have running machines, all that sort of activity involved. There's the shoe area where you can go and have your shoes designed and made for you. Up at the floor above, we have a wonderful children's area. We've got our click and collect pickup area in the corner, a gaming zone. over at the far end, and this is where we'll have our fantastic changeable food offers. So we'll have lots of food offers which can be changed over time. You heard Gregory talking about that earlier today. Now, when you get up to the top level, well, this is where the biggest aspect of community involvement will come, and the auditoria. There are cinemas, but there are also flexible auditoria for other uses for the public. And all of this coming together, linked with all the digital initiatives you've heard today, we feel is creating a brand new commercial and community format. Спасибо.